Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. Now, not only am I still sick, although I am less congested than I was this morning, I am in copious amounts of pain right now, so I gotta be careful not to move my waist a half millimeter, because then I will get shooting pains through my pelvis. But anyways, without further ado, let's talk about Khalie the Spider Lily, also known as Khalie the Flower Girl, on Instagram and on TikTok. Now, a disclaimer, I've only been following her for about a year, and I've only been following her via her Instagram account. I've watched all her videos on her Spider Lily Instagram account and her Flower Girl Instagram account. I view her stories on an almost daily basis, and I've listened to most of her songs. I have also checked out her multiple Reddit threads, and I checked out her Reddit mega thread that details the summary of what we know about her life online thus far. And I will say that the mega thread included tangible evidence in the form of a Google Doc and a YouTube video, and both appear to be taken down when I checked this out, so I don't have really any concrete evidence that I have seen to back up a lot of the claims that people on Reddit have made. I will also say that I am therefore not the most informed person about Khalie's situation, so if you happen to have found this video and you know more about Khalie than I do, I will open my comment section as an opportunity for you to respectfully give me more information that I didn't know about, or give me more proof or evidence of a claim that you have that might disagree with me. I will say that if you hate Khalie, you will probably not like this video, so you have been warned. So, who is Khalie? She is an 18-year-old girl from Memphis, Tennessee, who got popular on social media by posting videos around 16 or 17 of her dilapidated house that was extremely dirty, falling apart, totally neglected by her father, and she would post videos of herself either cleaning parts of her house or just showcasing how damaged her house was and how she had to repair it using DIY methods since she didn't have access to construction tools. The story seems to be that her parents divorced when she was a young child, and that now only her father and her live at that house, and occasionally her brothers, and occasionally her father's girlfriend's children. Khalie's mother lives with someone else. I'm not sure if Khalie's mother is remarried or has a new boyfriend, but it seems that Khalie lives full-time with her dad at their old house. Khalie began posting a bunch of videos, and she eventually started making GoFundMe pages so that she could get a car and rent an apartment when she turned 18. Once she reached $21,000 on her GoFundMe, the money mysteriously disappeared, and most people believe that it was taken by her boyfriend. And she might have confirmed this at some point. I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe this is true. Khalie then switched her Instagram account to a different Instagram account and began posting there, and she continued making content. She talked more about her experience with mental illness and different medications, and how she experiences emetophobia, which is a severe phobia of vomiting, which I have too, which is, I'm pretty sure, how I found her account in the first place, actually. And very recently in January, her house burned down in an electrical fire, and it rendered her homeless. So her dad ended up living with his parents. I don't know where her brothers ended up. She and her boyfriend ended up hotel hopping until she now lives, or is staying in, I believe, an Airbnb. And for a little while within the last 2 months, she had a job, but that didn't work out, which I will get a little more into. So basically now you know the extent of who Khalie is online. Now, very recently, I've noticed her getting an onslaught of hate and death threats and threats of violence, and I was really curious to know why. I checked out her Reddit page a while ago, and the issues that people seem to have with Khalie are that she's a scam artist, and she has an abusive, manipulative groomer boyfriend. And I guess that's what I want to start by talking about today. So I think the first issues that people had with Khalie's whole situation is that she seemed to be severely neglected, in a house, living in a food desert with little access to nutrients right and left, and it seemed that her father was not very attentive to her needs or her brother's needs. A lot of people thought he might be abusing drugs. She insisted that this was not the case. and that he was just chronically depressed, and it led to him not cleaning or taking care of the house, so she ended up having to take care of all of that. And what tends to happen when people see a disastrous situation online is they have this need to solve the situation, and they get upset when they can't solve the situation, so they feel the need to blame people. So they essentially directed a bunch of negativity towards Khalie because she was in a terrible situation with her dad. And they blamed the parents. They thought the parents were terrible people, and they took out their anger on Khalie, I guess. The second issue that people had with Khalie was with her boyfriend. So her boyfriend is Preston, and they started dating when Khalie was 17 and he was 21. So already it was an illegal relationship. He did basically groom her, that would be the definition, and he does seem to be taking advantage of her, and the fact that she has thousands, tens of thousands of fans willing to send her money, and that he takes advantage of that to use the money for himself. When she earned $21,000, which was meant for her to get a car and to rent an apartment, he ended up buying a car in his name, and he had the driver's license. So it was difficult for Khalie to... I don't know if Khalie ended up getting the car back from him. I don't think she did, but she seems to have a car now, so it implies that maybe they got back together. More on that in a minute. He and Khalie seemed to have drained the funds that she received by going on like a month-long holiday and traveling around and taking a break together. And because of this, I think this is what launched a huge amount of controversy around Khalie and the speculation that she must be a scam. And I think, I will say that Khalie should not have burned the money on a vacation when the money was meant for her to go to an apartment. It was irresponsible and selfish on her behalf. She didn't just earn the money as a gift. It was meant to be a gift that was supposed to go to practical resources. So, thousands of people probably feel as if they wasted their money on this careless teenager who does not care how she spends her funds and does not care that, she's taking advantage of people having empathy for her. Now, in my opinion, just based on my understanding of Khalie as a person, and granted, anyone can fake their social media persona, I'm personally inclined to believe that her persona is all genuine, even if a lot of people on Reddit don't agree. But I don't think that Khalie meant to intentionally manipulate her audience to send her money. I think that she was fully intending on using the money to get an apartment, but considering how mentally ill she is and what a difficult situation she's living in, I'm not too surprised that with a little bit of convincing from her boyfriend that she would go just take a long break from her house and spend a month with him. She probably didn't even mean to spend all the money. It just happened. Again, I don't think she should have done this. This was not a good thing on her behalf. But I don't think that her intention was to manipulate a bunch of people to give her money so that she could blow it on vacation. I don't think that was her intention. Now people seem to have issues with how she's spending her money, because now she's just being a lot more secretive. And the last time she put up a GoFundMe after her dad and her entire family lost their house in the fire, a bunch of people mass reported the GoFundMe as a fraud, and I don't think that's fair. I think that, first of all, when it comes to GoFundMes on social media like Instagram or TikTok, I don't think you should donate money to that, because more often than not, they are a scam, and it is just people e-begging for money to do whatever they want with it, even if they're claiming it's for a transition surgery, or it's for Palestine, or it's for a bunch of different things. You should not trust people, you should expect that if you're going to give money to strangers on the internet, they're going to use it to do whatever they want, not whatever they're saying they're going to do with it. So again, it's irresponsible and wrong on Khalie's part to do this, but I don't think that she's intending to be a scammer or grifter. I do think she truly lived in a terrible household, or a terrible house, not a terrible household. I do truly believe that she lived in a terrible house, and I do believe that her house really did burn down, and I do think she is in a difficult situation. However, she does need to be more responsible, and she's not doing that, and I don't think she's trying. A lot of people on Reddit seem to think that she has this manufactured, childish persona of, I'm just a little 18-year-old, I don't know what I'm doing in this world, and I don't think she's faking her personality. There are so many comments on Reddit who are saying, like, she's not a teenager, she's not a kid, she's a woman, she's an 18-year-old woman, which Yes, she is legally an adult woman, but 18 is still a teenager. She is a teenage adult. She is barely legal. Her prefrontal lobe has not fully developed yet. So naturally, she's going to make a lot of irresponsible decisions that she should suffer the consequences for, but it doesn't make sense to me, and it feels like a waste of time to be probably in your late 20s or 30s and go on Reddit and criticize the lifestyle of this girl and the personality and the habits and the just overall persona and behavior of some random girl online. Please, it really does bother me. I guess I personally do relate because I knew a woman who had a very similar personality to these Reddit snarkers who was really awful to me and made a bunch of accusations and assumptions about me that were not true at all and painted me in a very negative light that was really offensive and hurtful. And at the end of the day, it was just a woman in her mid-30s bullying a teenager and then a 20-year-old at the time. So I'm not a fan when older people, especially older women, do this to teenage girls. It's not cool. You're not being a girl's girl. No, I'm just kidding. But it's not being supportive to people who do need support. And rather than rag on this person's appearance or how this person talks and behaves, you can just distance yourself. As somebody on Reddit posted, somebody believes that you should stop giving Khalie attention, stop giving her money, and then eventually it'll all go away. And I'm more a fan of that than anything. Don't bully her, don't send her death threats, don't create this web of hatred for this very young woman online that is leading all these terrible trolls to send her death threats and scare her on the internet. She does not need all that hate. But yeah, a lot of people also take issue with her boyfriend, and then what I don't understand is why they condemn her for it, because I do believe she's a victim in this situation. It seems to be that she is in an abusive relationship with this guy. People on Reddit are making claims that she has posted to her story of her hand being wounded, her ending up in the hospital, and Preston ending up being arrested. And there are also just claims that Preston is being very controlling, and it seems that on and off, Khalie herself has claimed that Preston was abusing her at different points. And I think what frustrates people is that she is still going to give her money that she earns in her GoFundMe to him at the end of the day, and that is because she loves him and she's in a relationship with him. And I think people who've never been in an abusive relationship simply don't understand how difficult it is to detangle yourself from an abusive relationship and how hard it is to even convince yourself that you shouldn't be in it. Because what makes an abusive relationship so addictive is that it's not abusive most of the time. It might be abusive for a very small percentage of the time you're with that person, and for the most part they could be a very loving, supportive, kind person. And again, I don't know Khalie's relationship with Preston, but given the fact that she's quite a bit younger than him and she met him when she was in a really vulnerable position living in a neglected house, it would make sense that he would kind of become her rock in a way, and it would be very difficult for her to let go of him. And she might even feel that being younger than him, she has to work harder to earn his interest in her or to keep his interest in her. Again, this is not really somebody you should be donating to because she's not really in a stable position to be making responsible decisions with her money, as we've seen time and time again, but I don't think she is intentionally going out of her way to scam people. Another criticism of Khalie is that she has begun lying a lot more and hiding things, such as hiding the fact that she's probably still in a relationship with Preston, even though he was arrested for allegedly abusing her. She also seems to be lying about a number of things she paid for, or where she's staying now, or what else is going on. And in my opinion, the morality of her lying in this situation doesn't matter. It makes sense that she doesn't want to share so much more of her life because she's being scrutinized right and left. And people are criticizing her, making fun of her, prying into her deepest insecurities, and people seem to be stalking her. There are way too many, mostly women, I'm assuming, who are too invested in her life and are prying apart every little detail of her life on the internet. And I think she's tried to do the opposite of oversharing, since in the past, she fell into the habit of oversharing. One such controversy seems to be a possible benzo addiction. A lot of her followers seem to think that she's either into meth or benzoids, and, forgive me if I don't really know, again, somebody can clarify for me, but apparently she was using self-medicating with benzos for her anxiety. Now, she denied being on any drugs, and then actually took some drug tests and showed them on her story, and I think the only thing that was positive was THC. But people believe that she is lying about being addicted to benzos. And my response to that is, so what? Are you concerned that she's using the money that you're sending her to enable her possible drug addiction? And I think, if I remember correctly, the assumption that she was on benzos comes from her coworkers. So after losing her house, she got an apartment, I think, and she started making money at a cleaning company. And a coworker also gave her some clothes, since she had lost a number of clothes in the fire, or she had lost like everything else in the fire. And that same coworker seems to have offered to have Khalie stay with her, but Khalie didn't want to stay with her and refused her help. Now, we don't know why, and given the context of everything that happened with these coworkers and Khalie, it makes sense that she wouldn't actually have wanted to stay with them. And it's possible that the coworkers who wanted Khalie to stay with them decided to take revenge on her for not accepting them, because Khalie says they posted screenshots of her conversations with them, posted videos of her working without her consent, and posted her phone number on the internet so that she began getting scam calls right and left. And again, I don't know if this is true, and it seems like even Reddit doesn't know if this is true or not, and it's possible that maybe the coworkers actually reported something big about Khalie. I think it was her coworkers who reported her boyfriend. Again, I'm just trying to piece together information. Don't assume that this is exactly what happened, that I am telling you everything that happened, but piecing together everything, it seems like her coworkers were the ones who turned Preston into the police, and it left a negative relationship between Khalie and her coworkers, so she stopped showing up for work and ghosted those coworkers. I think it was those coworkers who claimed that she had a benzo addiction, and while that might be the case, I feel like addictions are moralized way too much. Addictions are a mental illness. It's especially with drugs, it's a chemical addiction, and withdrawal is very intense. And a chemical dependency on a drug isn't, something that you can really judge, because an addiction isn't something you can control. Sure, you could have tried not to get into it, but often people get into these drug addictions because of a traumatizing situation they might have been in. And Khalie's upbringing in this type of house with her type of living situation is indeed traumatizing. Another thing I take issue with is a lot of people on Reddit relying on hearsay. There's another controversy about Khalie and her dog. So before her house burned down, a month before, her dog got very, very sick, and she ended up having to put him down. After spending the rest of her money on a treatment for him, it didn't work, or an operation for him, I think, she ended up having to put him down. And after she put him down, her GoFundMe finally reached enough money to afford the treatment to save his life. And she was very guilty about that, and made lots of videos expressing her grief and how much she missed her dog Rambo. And then a bunch of people were criticizing her for pretending to care about him, because supposedly Khalie's mother in multiple Instagram comments said that Khalie never actually cared about her dog Rambo. Khalie neglected the dog and wouldn't take the dog outside to relieve himself. Now that might be true, but again, are we just going to rely on things that Khalie's mother is saying? Because are we just going to rely on Khalie's mother's word when we don't know anything about their relationship, and it is possible that Khalie's mother is painting her daughter in a negative light to make her sound like less of a bad parent? Because Khalie's mother and father split up when she was very young, and Khalie's mother no longer lives with Khalie, and it seems that occasionally Khalie's mom will help her out, or would have helped her out with fixing up the house or preparing to move out, and who knows, maybe Khalie really is a terrible bratty daughter who refuses to accept help from her mother, and that's why her mother can't reach her. But my impression that I got from her mother's comments all over her Instagram videos was her mother tried to make Khalie sound like an ungrateful child and try to go out of her way to paint herself as not a bad parent. Because if you look at a situation where a 17-year-old is living in squalor, your first thought is to blame the parents. And with Khalie going so viral, it makes sense that the mom would fight hard to not be seen in a negative light. But from my perspective, it seems like Khalie's mom was doing not even the bare minimum of providing and taking care of her daughter. I mean, I don't even understand why she wasn't living with her mother and why she was living in her dad's house. Surely her mother was not living in a worse situation. And why was her mother living in some kind of situation that Khalie wasn't allowed to be a part of? It seems that Khalie was so desperate to get out of the situation with her dad that she ended up running into the arms of a slightly older man who was already of drinking age when she was still a minor, to the point where they would run off and spend all her money just to spend a month away from her house. So it sounds like Khalie was already desperate to get away from her house and would have accepted living with her mother. Again, this is all speculation, but I don't understand why we are looking at Khalie's mother as a reliable source for the truth behind Khalie. To me, it seems like a bunch of people who contributed to her GoFundMe, which wasn't a smart idea. They lost all their money, and now they resent Khalie for it, and they want to see her in the most negative light possible and even take revenge on her or work on her downfall in some way. And that means seeing her in the most negative light possible and interpreting anything that anyone says about her, be it her coworkers or her mother or anyone else in her life, believe any negative thing anybody says about Khalie. So yeah, this is all the information I know about Khalie. Things she said, things people on Reddit have said, things that seem to add up based on both Khalie and Reddit agreeing on different things. So if you know anything about Khalie and have more information, let me know. If you've never heard of this situation, let me know if you care at all. But yeah, takeaway from this is do not support people's GoFundMes, and do not use hearsay as a replacement for the truth and tangible evidence. Okay, I love you, bye!